Today, I'm fresh back from a trip and we're going to be talking about duck hunting, or at least what I've learned about the sport of duck hunting from my 2 trips out to do it. And the way I think about it is that there is a vast skill tree that makes for a successful duck hunt. There's a lot more that I don't know because I haven't gotten that far yet, and I'm also going to use the term successful selectively because, well, we're not the greatest duck hunters in the world. So the first thing that you need to do is decide from one of 2 playable classes, the legal duck hunter or the poacher class. Outside of some unique perks specific to the poacher class, they play about the same, but there are some pretty serious debuffs to contend with if you intend on playing the poacher class, including a special adversarial class available only to the most spiteful of retired hunters. They basically sit there and watch everybody as they hunt, waiting for somebody to break a rule and then report them to the DNR. Whichever way you decide to go, the first thing that you need is a shotgun.
Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun.
To upgrade your chances of success, I highly suggest that you spec into the Super Magnum. That is the 3.5-inch shells. And having done a duck trip previously, I also suggest spend a little bit more in-game currency, go for the autoloader, make yourself a little bit more comfortable shooting those hundreds of shells. Having recently worked with Hatsan on one of their shotguns, I put in a call and asked if they made such a beast. Enter the Hatsan Extreme Max. The Extreme Max is Hatsan's answer to the aerial game hunting market. It is offered in both flat black and camo patterns, including the Realtree AP-HD, which is the woodland camo pattern, and this one is in the marsh cover camo. The gun at its heart is a gas-operated semi-automatic shotgun set up to accept a wide variety of payload weights. It is built on an aircraft aluminum receiver to keep the weight down, and is complete with an 11mm rail for an optics base. The standard capacity for the shotgun is 4+1, but it comes with a factory migratory plug installed for that 2+1 capacity when using both 3 and 3.5-inch shells. And that's important because the DNR is really anal about that sort of thing. Even if you've got nothing but 3.5-inch shells on you, they will stop you and check to see if your gun will hold more than 3 lesser loads. It is adorned with synthetic stocks with inlaid rubber panels to prevent slippage in the marsh. Also, being that it is a super mag, it comes with a thick rubber butt pad to soften some of that smackdown, and it is designed to be adaptable in that it accepts spacers to extend the length of pull and shims to adjust the stock drop. The vent rib barrel is composed of a nickel chromium molybdenum steel alloy with a chrome lining, and is offered in several lengths to fit user preference. It is set up to accept standard chokes and comes with 5, the full, the quarter, the half, the improved cylinder, and the cylinder bore chokes. The barrel is mounted using a locking ring separate from the main tube retainer and is rounded out with a high-vis fiber optic sight mounted on the serrated rib. The manual arms on the shotgun is pretty standard for shotguns of this type: a cross-pin safety, magazine cutoff, last round bolt hold open, and a slide release mounted on the lifter. I have to admit that at first I hated the position of the slide release, but then after using it quite a bit, I learned that it was very easy to drop a shell into the breech, and then through the action of loading the second shell into the tube, it would send the bolt home, and now the gun would have 2 shells loaded in it for that follow-up after the duck's flare.
No, it kicks a lot less than my gun.
Now that you have a shotgun, we have to find ducks. You automatically unlock the on-foot hunting strategy once you acquire a shotgun and pay both the local magistrate and the king to exercise your God-given inalienable rights.
Look at all those ducks, dude. Heaven forbid you shoot His Majesty's ducks.
We sat there, we saw what? 2 ducks all morning?
Yeah.
Those ones early, and there's 50.
In the preserve.
Yep. But it is my suggestion that you spend a little bit more in-game currency on camouflage if you don't already have it. Getting close to the objective will be quite difficult regardless of your sneak skill without it. The other option, if you have the funds, a good thief rating, or if you invested in the speech tree, is to get a boat. A boat expands access to various hunting areas otherwise difficult or inhospitable to gain entry to. If you decide to spec into boat camouflage, it can serve as a mobile hunting platform as well. Really, you have 2 options in that area: simply buying a pre-made retractable unit, or if you spec'd into technical skills elsewhere in your player build, fabricating it yourself may be an option. If you decide to do the DIY approach, we can shed some light on that, having tried a variety of configurations ourselves. Camo nets don't hold up to highway speeds and will cost you time on the ramp first thing in the morning should you have to set them up. Having failed at this multiple times and our lays debuff being maxed out, we decided to go with hard sides. Having done so, camo was through the roof, we were nearly invisible, but we did sustain some serious debuffs. Namely, trailering the boat.
I'm pretty sure you can't tell if we're filming or not. He gets really pissed when I take pictures.
And decoy recovery because we basically had a big sail. Speaking of decoys, the next thing that we need to do is attract ducks. There are really only two ways to do this: decoys and calls.
Everything's wet. Look at Bacon's portal over here. And we're not even going to talk about, what did we call that earlier? The pit of despair. The pit of despair, yeah. Although you did find we looked for like, I don't know, 3 times for at least 20 minutes apiece for that stupid duck call. And he's like, oh, it's not in the pit of despair. Sure enough.
It turns out that it's not as easy as just buying those things. And the good news is that you get a free YouTube account these days when you're issued your social security number. But it turns out there's an even better hack. While both can work in tandem, learning the specifics of a geographic area through YouTube really has not reached the NSA intelligence level that you can achieve from talking to the guy who has hunted the same marsh for the past 40 years.
There's string all over my gun.
We also never would have uncovered the hidden waiters perk that offers a great deal of versatility.
How do you feel about waiters? Best $119 I've ever spent. We may go in the drink. Your weapon has good time. I will be here. I will cover thee. Waiters make it so much easier.
As it turns out, ammo selection is a big deal when it comes to hunting these things, and it's a species-specific thing. You have to use steel shot in the marsh, which decreases the effectiveness of a choke as well as limits the field of chokes that you can use. One of those debuffs built into the game by the devs in the name of sportsmanship. We thought we were going to be able to hunt geese, so we were being a bit lazy and ordered a whole bunch of 2-shot from Fiocchi. Unfortunately, geese are a protected species in public lands because they are large targets that fly low, slow, and stupid.
Have you ever heard a more horrific noise? Yeah, those are trumpeter swans. I don't know what the that is. Some type of crane? Ugliest thing I've seen.
Ducks, by contrast, are a fast, small target and need a tighter, more pinpoint pattern to knock them out of the sky. I think that we're doing absolutely everything out of sequence here. So this is patterning after the fact. 2-shot to start out with. I think the best way to visualize this is actually going to be to show you guys the back of the target. So if you look, the 2-shot gives us a fairly homogeneous pattern spread across about this much distance. It just doesn't seem to be localized anywhere. 4-shot. Looking at the back of the target. And while we still have a few up in here, you can see that we've eliminated basically the bottom quarter of the target, maybe 1 or 2. But the group is becoming much more localized. And I would say that, and I don't have any way to measure this, but probably twice as tight. 6-shot. This one's kind of weird because it's like sprayed itself. It kind of goes like starts here and throws like that. That makes them pretty hard to hunt, I have to admit, so we just went after the rail. Although they're the same size as a duck, they're more of a trash bird, and they're exceptionally stupid, and they have a really high bag limit. Of course, YouTube would have an absolute fit if we showed our bag for the trip, but rest assured that duck and rail is really excellent Asian.
It's not bad.
Well, guys and gals, that concludes our synopsis on how to duck hunt, or I would say more like what to look out for while duck hunting, because we have to be the worst duck hunters that have ever entered the marsh. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you guys on a future video.
I mean, we don't normally torture test accessories, but
just be consistent about it. It'll be all right.
buy an inertia gun. Be fun, they said.